You've probably heard people talk about quantum manifestation or timeline jumping, but is it actually real? Is it hard? Or is it way more simple than they make it sound? Let's talk about this next on Angel with a Switchblade. Quantum manifestation. Is it real? Yeah. You're doing it every single day, whether you realize it or not. Think about it this way. Life is full of little forks in the road, okay? You can wake up and hit snooze on the alarm clock and go back to sleep, and that version of you goes one way. Or you can wake up and actually get up and get ready for work, and that version of you goes another. Now see, neither version is wrong, neither way is wrong, but there are different timelines playing out. You don't have to imagine some science fiction movie where you jump through a portal. Timeline shifting, it's just really the way reality already works. And no, it's not hard. The only reason it feels hard is most likely because people wrap it up in big words and sell it like it's some secret code, okay? They make it sound like you need a ritual, a course, a 10-step program, but the truth is, you already know how to do this. You've been doing this your whole life. When you were a kid and you pictured what you wanted to be when you grew up, guess what? That was timeline shifting. You didn't call it that back then, but that's what it was. You started to imagine a version of yourself and you started moving forward. Some of you became those things. Some of you haven't. It all depended on where you went, whatever timeline you jumped on. And finally, is it simple? Yes, it actually is. At its core, it's very simple. See, quantum manifestation or timeline jumping or whatever you really want to call it is just you choosing to step into a version of yourself that already exists. Picture that self clearly. See how would they carry themselves? How would they make decisions? What does their day look like? And then just kind of start lining up with that version. That's kind of really all it is. You don't have to chant and you don't have to buy crystals and you don't have to sit in a cave unless you really, really want to, and that's fine. You don't even have to get a coach, but if you want to, that's absolutely fine. But none of that is required. The only requirement is your focus and your willingness to show up differently. Okay, so let me explain this in the plainest way possible. You can think of your life like a giant library of books, okay? Every book is a different version of your story. One version of you got the job, it's this book. Another version of you quit the job, that's this book. One version of you stayed in the relationship, one left. And all of these stories exist. But you can only read or participate in one book at a time. So timeline jumping is like walking over to a different shelf and picking up a new book and jumping into that story. You don't have to force it. You just start acting like the character who lives in that story, and the world around you just starts to begin to shift to match. Now, I know the question people always have at this point is, okay, but how do I actually do it? So here's an exercise you can try today. This is how you can start moving. Think of an area in your life where you wish things were different. So maybe it's your work, or maybe it's your health, maybe it's your confidence. It doesn't matter really what it is. Just pick one. Then ask yourself, if that version of me who already was living this life today, what would they be doing? How would they show up? How would they carry themselves? How would they talk? What would they say? What would they say yes to? What would they say no to? Let's take it for instance. Let's say it's confidence you want, okay? Now, maybe you might picture a version of you who walks into a room and doesn't shrink back. They make eye contact with people. They speak a little bit louder. They don't second guess every word. That's really not some future person you have to wait to become. That version of you already exists. So when you start practicing those small shifts and just kind of working those up, just walk out there, talk loud, go do it. You started to become that person. You've stepped into that timeline. It's not about faking it, not at all. It's about letting your body and your choices catch up to the version of you that's already out there. Or maybe let's say it's something more concrete, like say money. Maybe there's a version of you who's not stressed every time a bill comes. What would that person do differently? Maybe they'd actually check their account instead of avoiding checking it because they're afraid of the numbers they're going to see. Maybe they'd start learning a skill that lines up with better opportunities. Maybe they would start treating the energy of money differently. Maybe it wouldn't be such an evil thing. It would be a good thing. Again, none of this is magic. It's you choosing to live as that version of yourself now. And when you do that, you've shifted. You've already jumped timelines. The important thing is not to overcomplicate it. People online want to make it sound like there's a secret, but that's because, secrets sell. But the truth is simple. Every moment you have the chance to choose, and every choice pushes you towards one version of your future or another. When you get intentional about which one you choose, that's where you start to become that person. That's where you start being there. Like, what would that version of me, what am I going to be doing? And you start doing it. You started jumping over there. That's when you're constantly shifting timelines instead of just kind of drifting back and forth. So if you take anything from this, let it be this. You don't need anyone's permission, and you don't need to buy anything. You're already doing this all the time. Every day you're making choices, you're shifting timelines. Every choice is a shift. Timeline isn't just something to learn, it's something that you recognize you're doing. And the more you notice it, the easier it becomes to guide it. And when you start guiding it, then your life begins to change a whole lot faster than you thought it ever could. So yeah, timeline jumping isn't some secret trick. It's just you stepping into the version of yourself, the self that already exists, and you're doing it every day. The difference is now, you can guide it, you can change it, instead of just, like I said, drifting back and forth. So if this helped you, I hope you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And if you're in the middle of a spiritual awakening yourself, I actually wrote a book called Wake the Hell Up. It breaks things down with all the BS. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed, this book might really help you. The link is in the bio. Have a great day, you guys. And hey, become the person you want to be.